심버릉입니다. 부산 방송광고발전협의회.
The time is now 7 o'clock.
The rainy season has begun. Excuse me, we knew it was coming, but every year I'm reminded again that it gets so hot and humid here in Korea. So let me ask you this. Did the rain affect you in any way? Are you guys okay? Did it put a damper on your weekend? And the bigger question, is it really Monday morning again? It sure is. So let's shake off the cobwebs and kick off another week together. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Monday, June 16th on BEFM, 부산 영어 방송. Good morning, Wavers. I hope you're all doing well and that you have survived the very beginning of the rainy season here in South Korea. So while Korea was dealing with the inclement weather, the world entered a new state of turmoil over the weekend with Israel's attack on Iran and Iran's retaliation, an explosion in one area known as the powder keg of the world. So we're definitely living through turbulent times with two other ongoing wars and, of course, new threats to the global economy looming. With this as the backdrop, South Korea has launched its top diplomatic mission, which had been put on hold for over 6 months because you know what happened domestically. President Lee Jae-myung will depart for Alberta, Canada, I think he already has, to attend the G7 summit. And this is actually the fastest that any South Korean president has embarked on a diplomatic tour or a state visit after becoming president, which shows just how urgent the situation is. The presidential office said that this trip will announce to the world that the previously suspended presidential diplomacy is starting again. The top office said that the three major goals for the G7 summit are to establish trust with major world leaders, make progress on trade talks, and solidify South Korea's status as a so-called G7 plus nation. President Lee is said to have been coordinating his schedule with U.S. President Donald Trump and also Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba for one-on-one meetings. And the day before his departure, which, by the way, was yesterday, the president completed his personnel appointments for the National Security Council, laying down the foundation for his diplomatic trip and, of course, policies as well. We are seeing major challenges in global security and trade, so we'll be watching to see where the new administration's first diplomatic step lands for the next 3 days anyway. That is what we're focusing on today. However, it's time for a text topic on this Monday morning. What is something that is not really expensive, but you hate paying for, or maybe you're always trying to save on? 자, 소소하지만 돈 주고 사기 아깝다. 이렇게 생각하는 게 분명히 있을 거예요. 나는 최대한 아끼려고 하는 이것은? So what is it? It could be an item. It could be a service. So whatever it may be. I want to hear about it. Let's hear it, your opinion. Send them in to me. You can join the live chat on our live stream on YouTube. So go to the YouTube platform, type in BEFM, 부산 영어 방송 to find our channel. Click on the logo, and then you can subscribe and chat with other waivers from your phone, pound 9050, shop 9050, but that's going to cost you 100 won. You can also reach me for free on Kakao Talk. So to find us and to add us as a friend, type in BEFM or Busan 영어 방송 as well. And then add us. You can send in your messages and photos as well. The ways you can listen to our program, 90.5 or 103.3 FM if you're in the Busan area on the radio. Like I said, we're streaming live on YouTube right now. You can watch again at your leisure. We're available on our own BEFM app and also the Papang app, the latter of which you can check out the Waga segment. It is Monday. It really is. So let's look at the lineup for today. We have Cultural Interlude with Michael. That's in hour number 1. In hour number 2, Claire's going to be joining me for News in Depth. Our special interview today is going to be focusing on Israel and Iran. Obviously, the biggest international story over the weekend. So we're going to focus on the heightening escalation, the waves of attacks going both ways. That's coming up with our expert in hour number 2. I'll be back with news overview. It is now 7:05 and this is News Overview. President Lee Jae-myung to make his diplomatic debut at G7. President Lee Jae-myung will depart on a 3-day trip to Canada starting today to attend the Group of 7 or G7 summit. His office said yesterday, making a diplomatic debut on the global stage just 12 days since taking office. Lee Jae-myung appoints Deputy National Security Advisors. President Lee Jae-myung appointed Kim Hyun-jong, a retired 3-star general and the former chief of staff of the Ground Operations Command, as the first Deputy National Security Advisor yesterday, expressing confidence in his ability to strengthen the country's military capabilities. Number of drug offenders surpasses 20,000 for second year. The number of drug offenders in South Korea came to 23,022 last year, surpassing 20,000 for the second consecutive year, with people in their 20s and 30s accounting for over 60% of the total. Household debt at nearly 1.7 times household income. South Korea's household debt stood at nearly 1.7 times the disposable income, with pressure for loan repayment driving down consumer spending, potentially triggering an economic recession. Israel-Iran strikes continue on to third day. Strikes between Israel and Iran intensify on the third day of the escalating war, which has killed hundreds of people already. And this was News Overview. It's now time for Now in Busan. We have Sejin in the studio. Let's say hi first. Good morning.
Morning.
I hope you had a good weekend.
Full of beans. And this week I'm also simply excited about what's happening.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's happening? Like, is there something you can share or just...
Exams.
Oh, I see. Of course. Yes. It is exam season for those of you who follow and have young people in your lives. So let's get to our text topic today. So we are talking about something that's not really costly, something that might not cost that much, but you feel like, 아까워, like, I don't want to spend even that amount. Is there anything like that?
It has been hair ties, I reckon.
Hair ties.
Yeah.
머리 묶는 거야, 끈?
So I always ask my mom if she has it, and she always, for some reason, she always has it. So I always get her hair ties instead of buying it.
I see. And I don't know, hair ties are one of those things. Like also 예지 PD님 is saying like 맨날 잃어버려는 그런 물건이잖아요. Like it's kind of like, you know, you have so many and then they're like, oh, they're not that costly. They're not that expensive. And that sometimes I hate when I reach for one, I'm like, where'd they all go?
Do you have your hair tied sometimes?
At home. I always have my hair tied because it's like so hot and muggy. So I have my hair tied at home, but then every time I reach for it, I'm like, the little container, I'm like, why is it always empty? We have other members of the family, so they're always reaching for it. I get you on that one. We're going to get into Now in Busan, some good news for Busan on the global stage. So what's the buzz, Sejin?
Busan has broken into the top 80 bracket in the global ranking of emerging startup cities, as evaluated by Startup Genome. It's leading organization that accesses startup ecosystem worldwide.
Well, that's definitely great news. So what helped boost Busan's ranking?
A couple of big moves. First up, they've launched Busan Startup Investment Agency, and they are planning to raise around 2 trillion won in startup funds by 2030.
So, sounds very ambitious. Is this Busan's first time kind of like on the radar?
Not quite. They actually cracked the top 20 in Asia for the first time just last year. And now they're aiming higher, hoping to land in the global top 30 and Asia's top 10 within the next 3 years. One of the key plans is a scale-up major startup expo called Fly Asia.
Well, definitely good news. We're going in the right direction to become a major startup hub. So thank you for this first update. Next, I hear that Kimhae Airport is getting a brand new departure hall. So give us the details.
Yes, they're working to finish a second departure hall at Kimhae Airport by early October, just in time for the APEC summit, which takes place the same month. In fact, they've been holding off on the second hall due to staffing issues. But with APEC just around the corner, they're speeding things up to get it ready.
Yes. So why did it have to be sped up because of APEC? I mean, what's the connection between the two?
So most foreign guests, like world leaders, will be coming and going through Kimhae Airport during the summit. So they're using the new hall just for APEC delegates during the summit. They're also considering these kind of things, yeah.
I see. So the timing seems right. What's being added?
Construction is kicking off this August, and the new hall should be ready by early October. The airport authority is putting in around 1.5 billion won to build departure corridor and install security checks, ID stations, and immigration counters.
I see.
But there's not enough the CIQ, that stands for Customs Immigration Quarantines, staff yet. So they will be borrowing people from other airports just for the summit.
Yes. So will it stay open after the summit?
The second hall probably won't open until they bring in enough CIQ staff. But they're thinking of using the hall during the big holidays too, like Chuseok or New Year's.
So, of course, this is really important as the APEC summit is going to be held in Gyeongju this year. So that's basically our neighbor, and hence the Kimhae Airport, why it's important for all the guests that are coming. So thank you for giving us that information. So Sejin, I know with all the rain and it's very gloomy outside, it's weird, but of course we got to talk about our beaches. They open real soon. So what's new this summer?
A lot. Busan's beaches are opening up one by one. And beyond just swimming, there's a bunch of other kinds of things to enjoy.
Oh, yes, indeed. Any big changes this year?
Yes, the biggest one is the changes on the opening schedule, mostly due to climate change. Haeundae Beach, for instance, used to open in 2 parts, but this year they're scrapping the partial opening and going straight to full operations on June 21st.
Oh, so that is literally right around the corner. So it seems like they're adjusting their scheduling because, June's still not as hot as we would like it for beach season, but also, September. September is really, really hot.
Exactly. Same goes for Songjang Beach. It will open on June 21st too. The other 5 beaches like 광안리 and Darepo will open on July 1st as usual.
Okay.
And especially Darepo, since they completed 12 years sand restoration project, is adding a brand new section this year.
Well, what about the beach vibes? Because when I think about the beach, I think about the rows and rows of those parasols, right?
Now they are doing something different this year. At Haeundae, they're cutting back on parasols and bringing in theme zones instead.
Okay.
There's a promotion zone where private companies run experiences like DJ parties every night at 8, a boot camp style steel camp, and a water blast style party. You know this one, Waterbam, held every Friday through Sunday.
Wow. So it seems like there's going to be a lot of festivities on the beach. More than just kind of sunbathing during the day, right?
It really is. There's a yoga zone, a chill out space with bean bags, and an Antarctic themed ice room set to minus 20 degrees.
20 degrees,
yes.
minus 20. I like that because if it's really hot on the beach, you can go into that Arctic zone, right? So it just sounds like a lot of fun. But what about 광안리? Because 광안li actually brings in a lot of crowds as well.
Yes, 광안리 Beach is also shifting away from parasols. They've got paddle boarding zones, character zones, and a space for personal parasols. Plus, the famous drone show is coming back this July with a laser this time.
Okay.
And in August, it will host the International Women's Beach Volleyball Tournament, which should be a big draw for visitors.
Well, it does sound pretty amazing. Any special lineups at Dadepo?
Now, if you're looking for something a bit more relaxing, head over to Dadepo Beach. They're turning it into a proper wellness spot this summer.
Oh, and so what are in their plans?
Loads actually. From the 1st to the 3rd of August, Dadepo will host Busan Sea Festival, a big summer event that used to be held in Haeundae but moved to west to boost tourism in that area. Then from the 8th of August, there's a Sunset Film Festival where you can watch films right on the sand as a sunset.
Oh, that sounds pretty amazing. So that takes us to September.
Okay, so September, for 2 months every weekend, they've lined up wellness programs like silent grounding, Nordic walking, aromatherapy, and beach yoga. And you'll be doing this during the golden set hours.
Yes.
They also got something called Night Music Campnik. This would be like spending evening with live music and sunset views.
Oh,
It's
like
amazing.
campnik, like camping plus picnic. So, I get it. So it does sound like a lot of fun. Very different from what we're used to in years past. So thanks for all the updates on that. So let's talk about our next, event or story.
You know, Busan, we are so proud of 광안리 Beach for its drone show.
Yes.
This time they will be having a laser show
Uh-huh.
for the first time ever on the 5th of next month.
Right. And you just kind of mentioned it a little bit. And
Yeah.
I'm sure people have seen clips of the drone shows there at least. So they're now adding lasers to the drone show.
That's the plan. Soon as they have 광안리 M drone light show run for 20 minutes, there's gonna be a laser show for 18 minutes.
I see. So any special theme this year?
Yes, the show's themed Busan City of Light and Sea. So expect a very atmospheric summer night. The district office says it will all about capturing those dreamy seaside vibes.
So is this like a one-off thing or is this kind of like more of a permanent thing?
Well, they're actually thinking about making the laser show a weekly event from the next year.
Okay. So it's like a trial run. We'll see how it goes. I'm sure it's going to be highly popular. But thank you for all the local news. We'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Sejin.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right, I'll be back with your traffic and weather.
Good morning.
Good morning.
굿모닝입니다.
Good morning.
좋은 아침입니다.
Morning wave in Busan.
Morning wave in Busan.
Morning wave in Busan.
Major news, local buzz, and expert takes. It's all here on Morning Wave in Busan. Brighten up your morning commute with Morning Wave in Busan.
Morning wave in Busan.
It's time for your Monday traffic report. It looks backed up on the Dongso overpass from Pumniko Ramp to the old Daegum tollgate. Also congested on Mandukdaero from Sukdung intersection to Deokcheon intersection. It's looking slow on Gwanmundaero from Pangnam Tunnel to Baegang Tunnel. And it's also congested on Luno Samsungdaero from Myeongji Underpass to Shino Bridge. Currently, it's 22 degrees Celsius under cloudy skies. Busan will likely see some rain this morning, but the sun is expected to make an appearance this afternoon. Daytime high of 27 is expected. Across the nation, a rainy day from now until the afternoon with thunder, lightning, and sudden gusts of wind forecast in some areas. A hot, muggy day is in store with some areas seeing their daytime high go up to 31 degrees Celsius. This was your traffic and weather. It's time for Top Stories. We have Haley in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
How was your weekend?
It was good. Extremes. I went to Daejeon on Saturday. So there was an art exhibit that my family wanted to see, Van Gogh exhibit. And then because we were there, we saw the exhibit, went up with my sister, her kid, and then we had to go to the bread place.
The bread
place, which I'm like, did we come here to go to the exhibit or to go to the bread place? Because I mean, I may have spent more time in line for the bread place.
How long did you stay in line?
Like 30, 40 minutes. But yeah.
That's a long
And it was like the
time.
less crowded, supposedly, the less crowded branch. But yeah. But, it's bread.
And thank you, by the way.
Oh, yeah, of course.
She
of course,
gifted us
I
bang
was
in the
like,
morning.
I have breakfast. You guys, I have breakfast.
I picked the buchu bread. Mm-hmm. And I was like,
Chives.
chives, right? So I took a bite and I'm like, ooh, this is good. So I ate like half of it. And then I realized, oh my gosh, now I have like,
Do you have chive breath?
I have chive breath
But
right
we're
now.
sitting far away enough where I can't smell anything.
My toothbrush is in my office at school, so as soon as I get to school, I will brush my teeth again. I've already brushed my teeth the second time around. Thank you. So let's jump into our top stories. We're going to talk about the biggest story. And of course, as I said earlier, we have a special interview planned later on in hour number 2 with an expert. But we need kind of the basics, the developments between Israel and Iran that's really been unraveling this relationship.
We do, because some are calling it war. We're really
Yes.
hoping it doesn't get that far. But the tensions, they've been going on for the past 3 days, started right after our show ended on Friday. But if you're taking a look back, it's been months of proxy warfare and really decades of tension. The two big enemies of the Middle East, they have launched direct attacks against each other. So let's go all the way back. Let me give you some background to prep you for the special interview. Friday early morning local time, Israel struck first, about 100 targets inside of Iran with some 330 bombs. So these included nuclear facilities and missile sites. And this is actually really important because it is the first time that Israel has directly hit any Iranian nuclear facility. Because for Iran, attacks on the nuclear facilities on its soil, those have been considered what it's called a clear red line that must not be crossed.
Yes.
So previously, even the United States has discouraged Israel from doing this until that moment. So amongst the locations hit was the Natanz nuclear facility, one of Iran's key sites for uranium enrichment. Israel also killed 6 senior Iranian nuclear scientists and a number of senior officials, including the most senior military officer, Major General Mohammad Bagheri, and the head of the Islamic Revolutionary Guards, General Hossein Salami.
Yes.
So according to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel has struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear program, weaponization, and the weaponization program.
Yes. And we also want to talk about how Iran responded.
Right. So immediately, Tehran said that they consider this attack a declaration of war. And Iran's supreme leader, Khamenei, said that Iran will inflict heavy blows and followed up on that on the same day. So Israel's attacks came very early Friday morning. Iran struck back late Friday night for the first time, retaliatory attacks, including ballistic missiles. So now, 3 days have passed. We're on to day 3 with new, intensified, and widened attacks between the two nations.
Yes, indeed. So once again, this will be covered in depth with our expert in hour number 2. Well, we also want to talk about this. Another major party to all of this is the United States.
Right. So regarding the initial attack, the U.S. said that Israel has informed the United States of its plans prior to the attacks.
Yes.
However, it denied being involved in the actual actions.
Okay.
What we need to understand as a bit of background is that the U.S. and Iran, they were in the middle of their very lengthy nuclear agreement talks. And the Trump administration had been working on for weeks. And this past Sunday would have been session number 6. Of course, that's been canceled.
Yes.
But President Trump said that he kind of took an I told you so tone, saying that Iran should have listened to him when he said, when he gave them 60-day warning. And we don't know if it's coincidence or if it was planned, but the attacks came on day 61.
I see.
Also, he's told Iran that they should come to the table to make a deal before it's too late, and there's, quote, nothing left.
Yes, and the situation is precarious for so many reasons and has major economic and industrial implications as well.
Right, so this is a bit that could concern South Korea because already global oil prices have jumped, with the benchmark Brent crude going up by more than 10% on the first day, reaching the highest figure since January. And then we're looking into, for South Korea, any relevant petro industries, petrochemicals, oil refineries, shipping, and even construction. I mean, honestly, down to grocery prices if shipping's affected. So the Middle East accounts for 31% 1% of global crude oil productions. And then going back to shipping, there's a possible shutdown, of the Hormuz Strait, which is a major international waterway. No domestic shipping companies dock in Israel or Iran, but if the war between these two nations expand, and again, Iran is the backer of major regional powers like Hamas, Hezbollah, and Yemen's Houthis. So that could lead to a shutdown of these waterways. So therefore, South Korean companies are set to be looking for possible detour routes. Also, keep in mind that the South Korean Foreign Ministry has issued a special travel advisory of level 2.5 as of Friday. So this half-level increase from the previous level 2, this is issued when there's a short-term urgent risk and it is effective for up to 90 days. However, keep in mind that some parts of Israel have been under level 3 and level 4, which is a full-out ban, and some parts of Iran under level 3. So please be cautious.
Indeed. Thank you for covering, of course, what's happening right now, the biggest news. Now we're going to turn to domestic news. It is a vetting and confirmation hearing season for the new Lee Jae-myung administration. So I want to focus on a couple of the most high-profile people and cases.
Right. So who might be the second most powerful individual in government? That would be the Prime Minister's office. So the Prime Minister candidate has been tapped as Kim Min-seok, who is facing a variety of allegations as well as renewed attention over his past issues. So his confirmation hearing is coming up. The parliament is set to meet, the committee is set to meet and try to decide on the evidence, witnesses, and the scheduling. So he, prior to this, responded to various inquiries ahead of the confirmation hearing. So in the reports that he submitted ahead of the confirmation hearing, he listed 140 million won in private debt. So it's owed to individuals as opposed to banks, 40 million of which is owed to this politician Kang, who provided illegal political funding to Kim Min-seok back in 2008. So back in 2010, Kim was found guilty of violation of Political Funds Act and had to pay 6 million won in direct fines and 720 million won in taxes owed stemming from this. So Kim said that he has actually paid all of this and all the taxes owed and called this particular allegation politically targeted. There were also some family issues as well. His son, who attended a prestigious East Coast school in the United States. He is facing allegations that he used his father, Kim Min-seok's influence while Kim was a parliamentary lawmaker for his high school extracurricular activities. So his son was a part of a student organization that drafted and created this bill on plagiarism. Interestingly, that bill actually went all the way up to the parliament, and one of the lawmakers who jointly introduced the bill, put their name on it, was his father. So that raised some allegations of, well, was it influence was by, the family connections. Well, Kim stated that he actually advised his son to not put that particular activity on his college applications. But in any case, and he also stated that he put his name on the bill with a fellow lawmaker because he thought it was a necessary amendment or improvement on the existing laws.
I see. So that's one particular person. In the meantime, President Lee's pick for the Civil Affairs Top Secretary actually resigned after personal allegations came up.
Right. So keep in mind that the Prime Minister, cabinet positions, they go through confirmation hearings. But when it comes to the presidential aides, even the top senior aides, they are appointed positions. So the Senior Secretary for Civil Affairs, 민정수석, resigned last Thursday, and President Lee Jae-myung accepted his resignation on Friday. There was controversy over some borrowed name accounts and also him owning real estate that was not under his name.
I see.
So following this, he stepped down 5 days after the appointment. Then this marks the first failed personnel appointment in the new administration. So now this major high-profile post is empty. So presidential spokesperson Kang said they are, of course, looking at and for the next candidate, and their priority remains someone who can fully understand and carry out their philosophy in governance, and also someone who can live up to the people's high expectations.
All right, so we will continue to follow, of course, all the appointments and whatnot for the the administration. So we're going to go back to international news for this last story. I mean, this was pretty shocking. The killing of a Minnesota state politician in the U.S.
Right. So it was a heavy news weekend for the United States, and we have more coming with Claire. But we are talking about the death of Melissa Hortman, a 55-year-old Democrat, and her husband, who were killed in Brooklyn Park, which is a city near Minneapolis. So Hortman, she was an attorney. She was elected to the Minnesota House of Representatives back in 2004 and served as a Speaker of the House from 2019 to 2025. So prominent local state politician.
Okay.
Also, this wasn't a singular incident. In a related incident, John Hoffman, 60-year-old Democrat, and his wife were shot several times at their home. The authorities believe it was the same suspect. They thankfully survived. He had to undergo surgery, but he is stable. So there were 4 people who were attacked, 2 dead, 2 injured.
Okay.
So the suspect has been named as Vance Luther Bolter, who's 57, who apparently impersonated, which means pretended to be a police officer.
Ooh.
To the extent that, according to the police, he even had allegedly a false badge and was wearing a uniform, even was driving a car that looked like a police vehicle with the emergency lights on, and that's how he approached the victims' homes.
Yes.
The comments condemning this act and also condolences for the victims have been pouring in, including from U.S. President Donald Trump, who said such horrific violence will not be tolerated in the USA, and the authorities would be prosecuting anyone involved to the fullest extent of the law.
Yes. So once again, very news heavy. But thank you for going over the top news, and we'll check in with you in hour number 2. Thank you, Haley.
See you in a bit.
We're ready for our first song for this Monday morning. So how about this one? This is Suddenly I See by KT Tunstall.
Silver pool of light. People who surround her feel the benefit of it. It makes you count. She holds you captivated in her palm. Suddenly I see. This is what I wanna be. Suddenly I see. Why the hell it means so much to me. Suddenly I see. This is what I wanna be. Suddenly I see. So much to me. And I feel like walking the world, When you can hear she's a beautiful girl, she's a beautiful girl. She fills up every corner like she's born in black and white. Makes you feel warmer when you're trying to remember what you're. Looking at me, I can see her eyes looking from the page of a magazine. She makes me feel like I could be a tower, big strong tower, yeah. The power to be, the power to give, the power to see, yeah. Suddenly I see. She got the power to be, the power to give, the power to see, yeah. Suddenly I see. She got the power to be, the power to give, the power to see, yeah. Suddenly I see. She got the power to be, the power to give, the power to see, yeah. Got the power to be, the power to give, the power to see, yeah. Suddenly I
Welcome back, everybody. I was looking at some of your messages. If you missed the text topic, it's this. What is something that is not that expensive, but still, you really hate paying for this item or this service? What are you always trying to save on, even though it's not like really, really expensive? 그래도 이거 좀 아깝다 하는 게 분명히 있을 건데요. Looking at some of your responses, a lot of people commenting on the weather and over the weekend. Souvenir, 아끼지는 않지만 돈 주고 사기 아까운 거 수건입니다. Towels. 요즘에 돈 주고 사고 있기는 한데 이상하게 돈 주고 사기 아까워요. 요즘은 기념품으로 잘 안 주더라고요. Because here in Korea, it's definitely a Korean cultural thing. Because like, I remember like going, whether it's like a new clinic that opened up or like a dentist or anywhere, at least like maybe up till a few years ago, it was very common that they would hand out the little box. And you open the box and it's like a towel. And they come in handy, right? But as Souvenir mentioned, it's becoming a thing of the past. I know some businesses still do it or some people do hand out the towels, but not so much as before. And yes, that's definitely a thing. Or maybe at like someone's like a 돌잔치. That definitely used to be like a little souvenir gift as well. So Leslie agreeing about the whole hair ties. Whenever I can't find my hair ties, I look under the headboard of my bed. They fall out of my hair at night. And the cat also, Jake, seems to hide them there too. Yes, hair ties. That's a common thing, as actually Sejin mentioned, that we tend to lose and end up buying a lot. Benny says, for me, I plan to buy a transistor radio, especially because it's a season full of rain, meaning monsoon season, and blackouts can happen. Ooh. Yes, so that is something that should come in handy for any disaster or, God forbid, of course, anything that might happen, an emergency that might pop up. Radios can save lives. Yes, we're going to get to Michael right now. I'll be back with Cultural Interlude. It is now time for Cultural Interlude. Michael's here in the studio with us. Good morning.
Good morning.
How was your weekend?
Very steamy.
Oh,
you know
how
what I mean?
steamy?
Like super steamy. It's like breathing water instead of air.
Okay. I was like, you're not telling us details of your love life, I hope.
What?
We're a family show.
Okay. Oh,
family
okay.
news morning show. I was like, what do you mean your weekend was steamy?
Okay, wrong choice of words. Okay, I was talking
Hot and
about
muggy.
the weather.
Yes.
Yes, for sure. I would not talk about my personal life on the radio.
Of course. I'm just pulling your leg. I'm kidding. I love getting laughs out of you. So, hey, so our text topic today is this. What is something that's not that expensive? 근데 굳이 이거 내 돈 주고 좀 사기 아까운 거 있죠?
I mean, there are so many,
Okay.
but I think if I have to choose one, it would be umbrellas. Because you
That's true.
buy them and you always leave it somewhere.
Or somebody
and you have-
takes them.
Yeah, somebody takes them and you have to buy it again. And it's super expensive.
Right.
Like 10,000원, 15,000원.
And then like even like the cheaper ones that they sell at the convenience store, sometimes it's kind of like, oh, I forgot my umbrella again.
Exactly. And you know
있는데 또
how many
사야죠.
umbrellas you have at home?
How many do you have?
I have like 20. And like I would wake up in the morning and I'm about to leave and I'm like, maybe it's not going to rain today, so I'm not going to take my umbrella.
Oh.
And then you have to because it's rain, like there's rain.
Then you end up
buying it.
Buying it.
Yeah, so I have 21
That's
now.
true.
22,
And I
23.
get so paranoid because like there have been a couple times where it was like pouring rain and I went into a restaurant and then you put your umbrella in the umbrella stand and then when you're leaving you're like, where's my umbrella?
Yeah,
Somebody
like-
took it.
Like I brought my white umbrella, my favorite one. Somebody took it and there was like a black one.
Aw.
And it's not even big, it's like small. And like,
That's the
okay,
worst.
yeah, who took it? You
So
know?
what I do is now like I I try to get all the water, the little water off the umbrella, and then
take
like
it inside.
Yeah, and then I get the little plastic wrap, and then I take it because
That
umbrella
makes more
thieves
sense.
out there don't.
That sounds safer.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to jump into cultural interlude. What do you have for us today?
Well, very exciting news. So on June 8th, so that's just 1 week ago, at the 78th Tony Awards held at Radio City Music Hall in New York, the original Korean musical Maybe Happy Ending, 어쩌면 Happy Ending, won 6 awards, including Best Musical, Best Book, Best Original Score, and Best Direction.
Yay.
Setting a new milestone in the performing arts world. Realizing its long-held dream of reaching Broadway, the production captivated the birthplace of musicals with a strategic global approach from planning to completion. Wow.
Yes. So we did report on those. It was like breaking news. It was huge news. So, but we need further details on this.
Yes. So, like, let's talk about the origins, right? How all this happened, you know? So the origins of Maybe Happy Ending trace back to 2014.
Yes.
The musical was planned by the private non-profit Uran Cultural Foundation and had a trial performance in 2015 before premiering in December 2016 at a small Daehangro theater with about 300 seats.
Yes.
So that's very, very small theater. You know, if you go there, it's small. But just 7 months after its premiere, it returned for an encore performance because apparently, you know, it was popular and was, you know, accepted very well by the audience. And 20 months after later for another run. So at the second Korean Musical Awards in 2018.
Yes.
So that's only 4 years since it debuted. It won 6 awards at the Korean Musical Awards, including Best Small Theater Musical, Best Composition, and Best Book. Its most recent performance in Korea was its 5th season in 2024. The season featured 100 shows with an average seat occupancy of 99.4%. So that's a record, you know. That's like, you know, it tells how good the musical is. And it earned a 9.9 ratings out of 10.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah,
Wow.
on ticketing platforms, proving both its popularity and artistic quality.
You know, and that is actually a good gauge when you have, of course, the critics saying it's good, but also sometimes, you know, critics say, oh, like this film or this, you know, production is amazing. And then you go and you're like, oh, it didn't really, you know, touch me. But, you know, it's very artistic, right?
Exactly. So, like, it's not just coming from the critics themselves, but it's coming from the audience.
Right,
and they love it. And that means a lot, right? So like you can tell how quickly this musical solidified its domestic presence.
Yes.
And Maybe Happy Ending actively pursued international expansion early on. So notably, even before its Korean premiere, it held a showcase in New York in the form of a reading. So that's 낭독극 in Korean.
Okay.
And the showcase was so when it comes to like reading showcases, it is usually attended by investors, producers, and theater officials.
Sure.
And that's a very critical step in gauging, you know, Broadway potential and securing future investments. It was at this showcase that Broadway heavyweight Jeffrey Richards noticed the production and later signed a Broadway contract with the musical. And if we talk about Jeffrey Richards, he is one of the most renowned producer in Broadway musical scene who has actually won 8 Tony Awards himself.
So he is like a veteran.
So he basically showed up at this reading showcase and took a look at this musical and he thought it was wonderful.
Ooh.
He wanted to sign it and he eventually did, you know. And that was the beginning of this fantastic, you know, saga of...
What a journey.
Yeah.
And you know, like, you know, those types of opportunities is sometimes like something is so good, but like the timing isn't right, or like, you know, someone just doesn't take note of, you know, your work. But this is like everything kind of the stars aligned.
Exactly. 그러니까 사람은 운이 좋아야 돼요. Like whatever you do, like
따라야 돼요.
yeah, you have like there's gotta be luck. You gotta be lucky. You
yes,
know?
that's true. So what happened next?
Yeah. So with Richards joining the production, the path to Broadway gained firm traction, I can tell you that. It was also Richards who brought on board director Michael Arden, who won the 2023 Tony Awards for Best Revival of a Musical and Best Direction for the historical drama Parade.
Okay.
And as well as Emmy and Golden Globe winning actor Darren Criss joining the cast as Oliver, which is one of the main characters of the musical. These star curators and actors helped lower the entry barrier for local audiences in Broadway.
Yes.
The Broadway production scaled up compared to its Korean counterpart, fitting the 1,000-seat Belasco Theater. So that's a much bigger than the one in Daehangro that I just mentioned. You know, notably, it replaced the melancholic Korean number or Korean song about terminal love. Nevertheless, with a brighter jazz-style song, Then I Can Let You Go, in the latter half of the musical, toning down the melodrama and the emotional arc.
So, you know, meaning like they kind of edited it, right? They took out some of the songs and replaced it, you know, with at least one other song. So I know you did mention this before.
Yes.
Is this how musicals are localized, meaning for the local audience?
Yes, that's the key word. Localization is everything when it comes to, you know, exporting or importing musicals, right? And this is definitely one of the, you know, efforts that they try to localize this musical in Broadway.
Okay.
So you talk about Nevertheless. It's a very, very, you know, famous number, a very, very famous song from the musical, 어쩜 해피엔딩. And it must have been a tough decision on the part of the production because this is like the most popular song in Korea.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
They decided to take this out and replace this with a more brighter song.
Okay.
It makes sense because when it comes to Broadway, the audience there expects more brighter, vibe,
definitely,
and more exciting. So that's how localization works. So there is one comment by Ji Hae-won, professor of arts and cultural management at Kyunghee University, who commented, songs with solemn and impactful endings, which are favored by Korean audiences, can often be seen as too much on Broadway. So too much drama. You know,
I mean, it's just a cultural difference.
Yes, it is.
The preferences. It doesn't mean one is better or the other is not so great. It's just, you know, different tastes.
Exactly. It's the market. And you have to cater to the market.
That's true.
So through clever localization, the production created an emotional distance that is actually comfortable for Western audiences. Yeah.
So this is actually such a great overview, you know, because Michael, obviously, if you don't know him, is a professional musician. So you know what you're talking about. So thank you for giving us your take on this. But I do have a question because, you know, I'm sure many of our listeners as well, we've seen so many of these musicals winning like a multiple number of awards at the Tonys. So how many categories are there exactly at the Tony Awards? Because we're more familiar with the Academy Awards maybe, but not so familiar with the Tony Awards.
A good question.
Yes.
So the Tony Awards, like there's a full name actually for Tony Awards. And the formal official name is called the Antoinette Perry Award for Excellence in Broadway Theater. And we shorten that to call the Tony Awards.
Antoinette Tony, got it.
Antoinette Perry, yeah. So it recognizes excellence in live Broadway theater. The awards are presented by the American Theater Wing and the Broadway League at an annual ceremony in Manhattan.
Okay.
So as of 2014, there were 26 categories of awards, in addition to several special awards. So these special awards come and go, but overall there's 26 categories, right?
Sure.
But back in 1947, when the Tony Award began, it started with 11 awards. The names and the number of categories have changed over the years. And to give you some examples, the category Best Book of a Musical was originally called Best Author. So, you know, it changes from time to time.
Yes.
The category of Best Costume Design was one of the original awards.
Sure.
So it, you know, dates back all the way to its debut year in 1947.
Got it.
For 2 years, in 1960 and 1961, this category was split into Best Costume Designer and Best Costume Designer Dramatic and Best Costume Designer Musical. So they had to split it, but then they went back to a single category, but in 2005 it was divided again. So a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
A long history of categories splitting up and merging together, all over again. For the category of Best Director of a Play, a single category was for directors of plays and musicals prior to 1960. So, yeah. Confusing story, but the summary is that there are currently 26 categories awards at the Tony Awards.
So if this particular production won 6 out of 26, that's awfully good.
That's very, very good.
Yes.
Even winning 1 is good. I mean, 6
course.
is very, very good.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I have another question. I hope you can answer.
Yeah.
So which musical has won the highest number of Tony Awards?
Yeah, I actually did some research on this because, I was curious myself. But this is very tricky because many of the musicals are brought back from the past. So what I mean is like there's the original,
Yes.
like original year when the musical was first debuted.
Okay.
And then they are forgotten for a long time. And then they come back at like
It's
some
like
other
a
time.
remake or revival.
So basically we call them the revivals.
Yes.
So, but the revivals are also eligible to win awards at the Tony Awards. So that's why I came up with a top 5 list of musicals that have won the most number of trophies at the Tony Awards.
Okay.
But I'm going to list them backwards from 5th to 1st just to be dramatic.
Sure.
So, yeah. And the list includes Tony Awards won by each musical revivals as well.
Okay.
Right? So the original and the revival.
Sure.
So,
5th place.
5th place.
Yes.
Winning 9 awards is The Book of Mormon.
Oh.
Which premiered in 2011.
Okay.
This is my personal favorite. I'm not going into details of why.
Okay.
But yeah, just
that's it.
remember the titles.
Oh, so good. Okay.
Yeah.
Next.
Winning 10 awards, 4th place. There are 3 musicals who,
3-way tie.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Fiddler on the Roof. I'm sure you heard of this
Yes,
musical.
yes.
Yeah. But this is also, so this came back to the Tony Awards twice. So once in 1965 and 1991. And
Got it.
combining all that,
Okay.
it makes it winning 10 awards. There's Sweeney Todd, 1996, 2006.
Yes.
And Billy Elliot, 2009. Yeah. 다
Yes.
조금 들어봤던 그런
네.
뮤지컬들이죠. Yeah. And 11 awards, 3rd place, Hamilton.
I haven't seen Hamilton yet.
I haven't seen it either. But I
gotta go
heard,
watch it.
I heard it's an amazing show.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
2016. Yeah. And winning 12 awards. Death of a Salesman. Salesman의 죽음. I think this is not well known among the younger generation.
Right.
But the older generation knows this.
Oh,
It's a very,
absolutely.
very famous. I think it began off as a book, I think.
like a play/book.
Yeah.
But I definitely remember reading it first.
Yeah.
It was required reading in high school.
Yeah, I remember it by that as well.
Yes.
But this musical came back as a revival basically 3 more times. So it debuted in 1949, so that's a long time ago. And then it came back in 1984,
And then again?
1999, and 2012. Yeah.
That is longevity.
But every time
Yes.
it comes back,
It's
like it
different.
will win
Yeah.
a Tony Award.
Okay.
That's amazing.
And then number 1.
And number 1 is winning 17 awards.
17. Whoa.
Yeah, 17 awards. It's a very old musical called The South Pacific. Yeah, and this is basically about these characters falling in love during World War II.
That's right.
Yeah, so South Pacific debuted in 1949, came back as a revival in 1950. So just 2 times, but won 17 awards in total.
Wow.
And I don't know how great this musical is, but if it comes back ever, I am going to check it out.
That's
And
right,
I think you
that's
guys
right.
should too as well.
Yes.
So, but in the end, it's not about what's won the most number of trophies. You know what I mean? So even if you win 1 trophy, the fact that you made it to the Tony Awards already proves how excellent you are.
Yes.
And that's what happened with 어쩌면 해피엔딩. And 어쩌면 해피엔딩 didn't just win 1 award. It won 6 Tony Awards.
Aww.
And congratulations to that. 축하드립니다.
Yes. 네, now we definitely have to watch it. But thank you so much for bringing us really in-depth coverage of this and all the details related to, 어쩌면 happy ending.
My
so
pleasure.
we'll check in with you next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. This was Michael, and it's time to say goodbye just for hour number 1, though. In hour number 2, we have our usual segments. Plus, we have our special interview. We're going to go in depth into what's happening between Israel and Iran. And here it is, Never Ending Story by IU. I'll be back at 8 o'clock.
손댈 수 없는 저기 어딘가 오늘도 난 숨 쉬고 있지만 너와 머물던 작은 의자 위에 같은 모습에 바람이 지나네 너는 떠나며 마치 날 떠나가듯이 멀리 손을 흔들며 언젠가 추억에 남겨져 갈 거라고 그리워하면 언젠가 만나게 되는 어느 영화와 같은 일들이 이루어져 가기를 힘겨워한 날에 너를 지킬 수 없었던 아름다운 시절 속에 머문 그대이기에 너는 떠나며 마치 날 떠나가듯이 멀리 손을 흔들며 언젠가 추억에 남겨져 갈 거라고 그리워하면 언젠가 만나게 되는 어느 영화와 같은 일들이 이루어져 가기를 힘겨워한 날에 너를 지킬 수 없었던 아름다운 시절 속에 머문 그대야 그리워하면 언젠가 만나게 되는 어느 영화와 같은
Your bridge to the world. BEFM 부산 영어 방송.
선을 하나 넘었을 뿐인데 익숙한 세상이 아름답게 다가옵니다. 야외 조각 공원과 함께 세계 각국 초청 작가들의 전시가 지그재그 아트센터에서 당신을 기다립니다. 예술은 직선을 걷지 않는다. 지그재그 아트센터.
혹시 지금 운전 중이신가요? 어린이 교통사고 피해자 수는 지난 3년 평균 약 9만 명. 특히 어린이 보호구역 안전기준이 강화된 이후에도 어린이 보호구역 내 사고는 지속적으로 발생하고 있습니다. 스쿨존에서는 반드시 시속 30km 이하 서행, 스쿨존 내 불법 주정차 금지, 차량 출발 전 앞뒤 좌우 살피는 습관으로 어린이가 안전한 도시를 만듭니다. 참, 운전 중 휴대전화 사용은 모두에게 위험합니다. 우리 모두를 위한 교통안전, 나부터 실천하면 모두가 안전해집니다. 어린이가 안전하게 뛰어놀 수 있는 부산. 아이 키우기 좋은 도시는 우리 모두의 미래이자 희망입니다. 이 캠페인은 어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
From Busan to the world, feel the power of Korean culture. Now, Busan is ready to play a song that will touch hearts around the world together with global fans.
With all the beauty and charm of the amazing city of Busan, you'll find yourself right at home in this ever-changing tourism paradise. So stay with us a while. Busan, your #1 tourist destination. Your home, away from home. This campaign is brought to you by BEFM, Busan 영어방송.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
Welcome back, everybody. This is hour number 2 of Morning Wave in Busan. We're going to begin with Spotlight News. President Lee Jae-myung to make his diplomatic debut at G7. President Lee Jae-myung has embarked on a 3-day trip to Canada to attend the Group of 7 or G7 summit, his office said yesterday, making a diplomatic debut on the global stage just 12 days since taking office. He will visit Alberta to participate in an expanded G7 session and hold a series of bilateral meetings with leaders of major economies on the sidelines of the summit, slated for Sunday to Tuesday local time. A senior presidential official told reporters that South Korea is open to holding a 3-way summit with U.S. President Donald Trump and Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba on the sidelines of the G7 summit. Lee Jae-myung appoints Deputy National Security Advisors. President Lee Jae-myung appointed Kim Hyun-jong, a retired 3-star general and the former chief of staff of the Ground Operations Command, as the first Deputy National Security Advisor yesterday, expressing confidence in his ability to strengthen the country's military capabilities. Lee Mung-soon, South Korea's ambassador to Canada, was chosen as the second deputy advisor in charge of foreign affairs policy, and Oh Hyun-ju, the first female envoy to the Vatican, named the third deputy advisor tasked with economic security affairs. He also appointed Ha Jong-woo, the head of the Future AI Center at Naver, as the presidential secretary for the newly established Office of Artificial Intelligence Policy. Number of drug offenders surpasses 20,000 for second year. The number of drug offenders in South Korea came to 23,022 last year, surpassing 20,000 for the second consecutive year, with people in their 20s and 30s accounting for over 60% of the total. The number of foreigners apprehended on drug-related charges also reached a record high of 3,232 people last year, driven partly by a surge in the overall number of foreign residents in the country. Authorities confiscated 11,173.2 kilograms of drugs last year, a 17.6% spike from the previous year. Household debt at nearly 1.7 times household income. South Korea's household debt stood at nearly 1.7 times the disposable income, with the pressure for loan repayment driving down consumer spending, potentially triggering an economic recession. The Bank of Korea data yesterday showed local households' disposable income at 1,356 trillion won, with combined financial debt at 2,370.1 trillion won. The nation's 5 major commercial banks reported that household loans have increased by nearly 2 trillion won since the beginning of the month, driven by expectations of housing and stock price increases following the launch of the new government. Israel-Iran strikes continue on to third day. Strikes between Israel and Iran intensify on the third day of the escalating war, which has killed hundreds of people. Iran has confirmed that the head of the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps IRGC intelligence unit, Mohammad Kazemi, has been killed in Israeli strikes. U.S. President Donald Trump called for the two sides to make a deal. World leaders are likely to address the issue and urge President Trump to broker a ceasefire. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, however, has said that the issue is not de-escalation, but stopping Iran from developing its nuclear capabilities. And this was Spotlight News. It's time for Wa글와글. Haley's back.
Good morning again.
Hey, I forgot to ask you our text topic because we were talking about your trip over the weekend.
Oh, sure.
Yes, so something that is not that expensive, but you really hate paying for.
Umbrellas.
Okay.
First of all, because I have umbrellas, but I don't know. It's
Are you collecting
stubbornness.
them?
It's stubbornness. I don't know. I won't. If I look at it, it's like under 40-degree chance of precipitation, I'm going to gamble, which is like the only type of gambling I do. I don't know, with my hair.
You're not going to take an
I'm
umbrella.
Like, I'm not going to take an umbrella because just on principle, that's
Right.
not even half. And then it rains. So on Friday, it started raining right before I left the station. So I forgot to bring it back. I borrowed, without asking, our station windbreaker. And I had to wear it like a hood. It didn't have a hood, and just tie the sleeves around my neck.
Is that what you were wearing?
Yeah, that's from my photo. And I kind of look like, one of those people that appear in front of your door and ring the doorbell in the middle of the night in a horror movie. And once you open the door, that's how stories start. And I was like, yeah, this instills fear within,
Slasher Haley.
Yeah, with my neighbors. Not a very neighborly look, but what are you going to do?
Right. Well, thanks for sharing. Now we're going to dive into this story. Oh my gosh. Last week, traffic was severely disrupted in Seoul when a ladder lift truck fell over a railway, right?
Right. The worst traffic Friday morning, which is when a lot of people bring their cars, rainy or about to rain, chances of rain, and then massive accident. So Friday morning, this is not really a thing that exists in some countries. It's a ladder lift truck. In Korean, we call it 이삿짐 사다리차 because we have a lot of high rises.
Yes.
For some, we do move out from windows as opposed to elevators, especially for large appliances.
Right.
So these are trucks that have extending ladders that go all the way up. Well, it toppled over onto the 경의중앙선 railway when it was at a full 40-meter extended height. So this, of course, caused massive disruptions with morning commute, leading to suspensions with the KTX, the rapid train, the regular trains, and even metro operations.
Yes.
Took about 5 hours to repair. The kicker, the operator, the driver, was drunk.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's why. Well, at least it's one of the reasons speculated. So the police said when they did the breathalyzer test, the blood alcohol concentration, or the BAC of the driver, who's a man in his 40s, came to license suspension level. So in South Korea, that's between 0.03% and 0.08%. I know in other countries, I'm specifically naming the United States, drunk driving starts at 0.08.
Right.
But South Korea has much stricter rules. So he reportedly told the police that he drank a bottle of soju the night before, about 12 hours prior.
Okay.
So he claimed that the accident has nothing to do with his drinking. Here's the thing though, hungover driving is also a form of drunk driving in South Korea because there is still residual alcohol left in your system, and even 0.03% can hinder your judgment or response time, which is why we have those laws.
Right.
But of course, it is unclear, and the courts will have to decide. However, at least from the preliminary reports, we're saying it's unclear if him actually operating the ladders while in this at least partially intoxicated state or hungover state would be in violation of the law. This could be a gray area.
Really?
But the police are at least directly trying to figure out whether him having driven to that apartment for his job, because he drove the truck, would be in violation of, would constitute drunk driving.
Oh, that's interesting though.
Yeah.
Heavy machinery operated while you're under the influence of anything?
Yeah, exactly. So they would have to look into the legalese of this.
All right. Thank you for covering that story. Next, I have a question for all the waivers out there. How much, do you even know how much trash bags are? Or like, do you just pay for it like unwittingly? Like, do you know?
No. I also don't buy. It's one of those things I don't buy bags because I will either always bring my grocery bags or I will work out my arms and just carry all of it. Yeah, because I don't know, on principle, that's not my job. It's me being ungrateful. But I'm like,
ungrateful child.
Yeah. Ungrateful moocher. But do you know how much they are?
Approximately. Because I always get like 2.
Right. And then
We
it
have a
depends on
family
the
TV.
size.
Yeah, the
right?
size.
Yeah.
I usually get the 20 liter. I think it's, right around like, I know it's under 1,000 won. The price goes up incrementally.
I don't know.
So
You could tell me it's 만원 and I believe you.
I think it's around like 900.
Okay.
I'm guesstimating.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm sure. Anyone hazard a guess? Well, I am curious if you do know, and if you live outside of Busan, how much it costs in your area. Because the answer is depends.
Don't tell me it's different for every region.
Different. Tis different.
Oh,
so
okay, we
this
gotta get
is
into this.
odd because it's regulation trash bags. So, but there's over a double the price difference between the lowest and highest trash bags or price tags. And bad news. Guess who has the highest?
Not us. Here in Busan,
Yep,
really?
in Busan. So this is according to the Korea Consumer Agency, and we are looking at the ones you buy. 20-liter trash bags, the 종량제 봉투 20리터입니다. Which in the summertime, that becomes like a fruit fly trap. I'm just saying. The most expensive in Busan, 776 won.
Oh, so I was a little...
Which is like, it's not...
900원 아니네요.
Right.
Sorry.
But then in Incheon, Gwangju, Jeju, all in the 700 won range.
Okay.
Let's go to Jeonnam. The cheapest, 361.
What?
That's about half. Daegu and Incheon also, because prices do go up.
Yes.
They saw the highest rate of increase on trash bag prices this year, up by 8.5% respectively.
So we need to know. Why are they different?
Yeah,
We
why?
don't want to pay, what was it? 776 won. We're at the highest.
When somebody else is paying 360?
Yes.
All right, so local governments are in charge of independently determining the price. So even actually within the same city, so your price could be right, because even within the same city, districts or counties could implement different prices. Yeah. Because keep in mind that if you buy a regulation 종량제 봉투 from 해운대구, you cannot throw that away in anywhere else because it's cool.
Because I was sure it was like 800 뭐 몇십 원 아닌가?
they're
I was
like, they're
it's really
stealing from you.
776
No, this is on average.
Okay,
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's all about how different regions manage and handle trash because it, of course, the waste management costs are built into it. So it tends to be cheaper if your respective district, county, or city, they have incineration facilities. They burn the trash on their own versus do they pay a landfill to take care of the trash for you.
Right.
Jeju, it does make sense because it's an island, so it has shipping costs built into it, so everything does tend to be more expensive on an island.
I see.
But in case of Seoul, starting last year, they actually decided to consolidate and unify the prices, so it's all 491 across the city for all the districts.
Well, we have reports.
Yes.
In Suwon or Yongin, it is 660원이래요, according to Tommy. And according to 임성한 학생, 충남에는 360원이래요.
Why did you look it up or do you just know?
I don't know.
I don't really. I'm just like amazed because I was never a middle school kid who would know how much trash bags were.
Sangwon's on a different level.
I know.
Yes,
I know.
Thank you for sharing with us
smart
rates.
youth.
Yes. All right. Up next, some jokes and pranks can be funny, right? I hope they are, but others can be damaging, as we talked with Vasana last week. This is one of those cases where not so funny.
I mean, thank goodness that the times have changed because I never considered them to be funny, but the things that were done while I was a child, you were kids, bullying, sexual harassment, and this would be one of those cases because some people apparently never grow out of it.
Okay.
So the police, Incheon police, are investigating a case of a couple guys having switched the women's bath and the men's bath. It's not the bathroom, it's a public bath. 목욕탕 signs in an elevator. So the police received a report that a woman walked into what she thought, because that's what the sign said, was a women's public bath, turned out to be men's. The victim went to the bathhouse with her husband late at night after they had worked a night shift. So depends on where. Some you have the men's and the women's bath on the same floor, but others they have them on different floors, and they'll mark them on the elevator. This particular building, the sign said third floor was the women's, fifth floor men's. The wife took a bath because it was late at night. I suppose no one was there. She came out. She had just come out of the bath, so she was not dressed, and ran into a man who was fully dressed. Right. Nightmare situation.
Oh my gosh.
She ran away. She hid herself. She was obviously not wearing anything. She got dressed and complained to the sauna. What is going on? Why would you let a man in? And then they were told, she was told, why were you in the men's bath? The floor that you are on, that's the men's bath.
Oh, no.
So she is said to be actually taking medication for it. She was in such a state of shock, and she is seeking psychiatric care. That is trauma.
Yeah, so we need to know what happened to the signs.
Someone switched it.
That's
the
prank
as a
part?
prank. So the police checked CCTV footage, and turns out about 4 hours prior, two men who looked like they were in their 20s, they came to the bathhouse, they drove, went into the elevator, took the men's sticker and the women's sticker, switched it on the elevator.
Oh, gosh.
The sauna apparently told the police that it seems like they had done this before.
Oh.
So the police are currently investigating the case under possible obstruction of business charges, 업무 방해. But I mean, as there was someone who experienced emotional damage, we'll see if any charges get added to it.
I would sue them at least civilly.
In civil court.
Yeah, because no.
Yeah.
All right, for our next story, there is a woman in the UK whose small misfortune turned out to be a life-saving coincidence.
Right. I mean, this is against the backdrop of that Air India tragedy where the death count has, the latest I checked, come to 270. But there's a woman who actually missed this flight and by 10 minutes. And that, of course, saved her life.
Yes.
So this is one Ms. Bhumi Chauhan. She's a business administration student who lives in the UK. She was visiting India on holiday. She was, again, scheduled to fly out and fly home on the Air India 717 flight, of course, which crashed shortly afterward. But it's this story because sometimes we do get very annoyed at small misfortunes, but turns out to be a blessing in disguise. So she got stuck in traffic for a really long time.
Okay.
And and she got to the airport less than an hour before the flight's departure time. But she still got there before the flight departed.
Sure.
And she even checked in online. So she figured, I should be able to, because if your flight is closer to departure time, they'll usually let you at least cut the line to security and run. But even the airline apparently won't let her check in. So she arrived 10 minutes after the start of boarding. The gates hadn't closed, but the airline said, we cannot let you complete the process. So she was very annoyed and upset at the airline, at the driver. So she had to leave the airport frustrated and disappointed. Apparently, she went to get some tea to calm down and was on the phone with her travel agent to try to get a refund when she got the call about the accident.
Oh my gosh.
Which, because it happened so quickly into the takeoff, she learned about it very quickly. So she stated that when she heard the news, she was shocked and started shaking, and it is a miracle that just happened to save her.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Such a tragic accident.
Right. I mean, we are so happy that at least it's one person whose family won't have to deal with the tragedy, but right.
As Leslie says, her guardian angel worked hard that day.
Right.
Well, thank you for going over all the Wagley stories, of course, and we'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Haley.
Have a good day.
And it's time for your updated traffic and weather report. It's now 8:18. Here's an update on what's happening on the roads. First up, we have an accident to report on Jungang Expressway from Daedong Juncture to Yangsan Juncture, right around Yangsan Juncture. It's backed up on the Dongso overpass from Hakjang ramp to the old Daegum tollgate. It's congested on Gwangan Bridge. It's also slow on Chungjang-daero from pier number 4 to pier number 3. And there is traffic congestion being reported on Yeonsu-ro from Suyong intersection to Mangmi intersection. Currently it's 22 degrees Celsius under cloudy skies. There's likely going to be rain this morning in Busan. However, this afternoon it's expected to clear up with a daytime high of 27 degrees. Across the nation, overall, a rainy day. From now, at least up until the afternoon, and some areas will get thunder, lightning, and sudden gusts of wind. It's definitely going to be later on, at least a hot, muggy day, so some areas will see their daytime high soar up to 31 degrees Celsius. This was your traffic and weather. This is your special interview on Monday morning. Israel launched a massive wave of attacks on key sites across Iran late last week, striking nuclear and missile facilities and targeting senior military leaders and also nuclear scientists, according to reports. And among those killed were Iran's highest-ranking military officer, Major General Mohammad Bagheri, and also the commander-in-chief of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, General Hossein Salami. So codenamed Operation Rising Lion. The strikes also hit Iran's main nuclear enrichment facility in Natanz, reportedly killing at least 14 nuclear scientists. And in retaliation, Iran has launched missiles towards Israel. So this is ongoing as we speak. We have invited to the airways Professor Stephen Zunes, Professor of Politics and Director of Middle Eastern Studies at the University of San Francisco. Hi, thanks for joining us today, Professor.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes. To begin, if you could explain the backdrop of what led Israel to launch these preemptive strikes against Iran, and if you can go into the basic history between the two sides.
In the most general sense, this is an old geopolitical rivalry. Iran, formerly known as Persia, has on and off been a major regional power for something like 2,500 years. Israel is by far the most powerful military, despite its small size, in the region, and is really wanted to maintain its hegemony. It's the only country in the Middle East that has nuclear weapons, and they want to make sure there is no other country that can have a deterrent capability. And though Iran does not have a nuclear weapons program, as far as we know, it does have a civilian nuclear program that has they could easily shift to a military direction should they choose to do so, because they've enriched enough uranium that they could make fissile material for a bomb in theory. Now, Iran had signed this agreement with United States, Russia, Britain, France, China, Germany, and one that was supported by the United Nations that made it impossible for them to enrich uranium to that level. But Trump, with the support of Israel, unilaterally broke off this agreement during his first term, imposed strict sanctions on Iran, and put threats of sanctions in any other country that dealt with Iran or any other company or whatever, hurting the economy. And so Iran no longer felt obliged by the limits, and they kept on developing uranium. So my sense is that it's, though Israel says it's because Iran was about to make an imminent attack, there's no evidence they did that, or that they might have developed nuclear weapons at some point. If they really wanted that, they would have stuck to the agreement and not broken it. So I think this is more to do with old geopolitical rivalry and trying to weaken a country that has supported radical groups in the region, has always taken a very hardline stance against Israel.
Yes. And what about the timing of this, Professor? Because from what I understand, the Trump administration was gearing up for sixth round of talks, nuclear negotiations with Iran, and then this by Israel. So was there something that happened recently where Israel felt like, as a nation, it had to preemptively strike Iran?
There are a number of theories here. One was they were afraid there might be an agreement and they would no longer have an excuse to attack, so they wanted to do it sooner rather than later. But I think, but I was a little skeptical that an agreement could be reached, actually, because the first agreement that was reached that between Iran and the 6 other nations, it took nearly a decade of posturing and 2 years of intense negotiations. I actually met with Javad Zarif, the Iranian foreign minister, when I was in Tehran back in 2019. And he told me how he and Secretary of State John Kerry met at least 50 times, going over the agreement line by line by line. And Trump had this idea that, I can make a better deal. And like some kind of real estate deal or something that he's famous for, by pressing that demands that were much more unfair and much more strict towards Iran. So I really don't think there would have probably been an agreement anyway. I mean, some people speculate that Trump was pretending these negotiations were going on, so Iran did not fear an imminent attack. So the nuclear scientists and others who wouldn't have gone into hiding and were therefore vulnerable to the surprise Israeli attack.
I see. Very interesting, some of these theories right now. Reportedly, some nuclear scientists and high-ranking military officials have been killed in these strikes. So how much of a blow is this to Iran right now, its capabilities, and even morally, I'm thinking?
Yeah, certainly, it is a blow. These people were leaders in their field, both militarily and in nuclear science. And these aren't just people working on the applied side. These are like theoretical physicists and folks like that. At the same time, Iran it's obviously a very repressive, reactionary, autocratic government.
Yes.
But they have a very good education system and a lot of educated people. And so it's not, they'll still certainly have people who can continue working on the nuclear program. In fact, if anything, it's going to redouble their efforts and might even get them to start thinking about actually developing a nuclear weapon as some kind of deterrent. Because in a country as large as Iran, and one that has people who have the education and the skills, that they can definitely replace people. So it's certainly a setback, and again, it does hurt morale to be sure. But if this is not going to prevent Iran from continuing its nuclear program, and it's not going to prevent them from continuing to be a major force in the region.
Right. What about the U.S. response to all of this, and especially the Trump administration's stance on the situation? I'm sure, as is protocol, Israel warning ahead of time to the U.S., get your people out of that region. So, of course, there were alerts sent, non-essential staff in the area, they were all evacuated. But what has his stance been, at least to the public? What has he said?
Well, there's no evidence the United States has directly supported the Israeli attacks, as in bringing in tanker planes to refuel Israeli aircraft and that kind of thing. But the United States is on record supporting it, even though Israel was the one that launched the war, and has pledged to continue to provide Israel with the ordnance and weaponry and jet fighters and everything to enable them to continue the war there, as well as the ongoing war in Gaza.
Yes.
So. I think in many cases, I think most people, I think part of the problem, of course, is Iran is such an awful regime. They are an international pariah that the United States and other countries are reticent to defend them in any way. But Israel clearly is the aggressor in this war. This is a violation of international legal norms.
Yes.
And the United States is certainly an outlier in certain ways compared to, say, Europe. I mean, in terms of outright support for the Israeli attacks.
Yes. And given the scale of the strikes and the rhetoric on both sides, and Professor, you also have mentioned the term war. So is this full-scale war at this point?
Well, both sides have been escalating the past few days.
Yes.
Iran has launched heavier and more destructive missiles that Israel has not been able to intercept. They've done a lot of damage, though fortunately not too many casualties, because Israel has a good network of underground shelters and that sort of thing.
Yes.
Israel's been escalating its attacks, going well beyond anything related to their nuclear program, but to attack government ministries, oil installations, and things like that. And we can certainly see prospects of greater escalation, including more deliberate attacks on civilian targets by the Israelis. One thing that's got a lot of people scared is what if Iran feels their backs are against the wall and they end up closing the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow channel in the Persian Gulf, where a good percentage of the world's oil supplies, including oil to Korea, comes through. So you can imagine the impact that might have on the global economy.
And speaking of which, our final question for you is the consequences of this. So you already mentioned the Strait of Hormuz, because I was going to ask you about that. Plus, like the price of crude oil already going up because of news of this. So what might the consequences be, not just for Israel and Iran, but the general world at large?
One concern, I think, is that even though Iran is not very popular in the region due to their support of extremist groups and everything like that, it is bringing a real there's a reaction within the Islamic world. They say, why is it that Israel can have nuclear weapons and Iran can't even have an advanced civilian nuclear program? Why is it that a Muslim country can be on the receiving end of this kind of aggressive war, and the international community doesn't do anything to stop it? So I think it can bring up, I think, both nationalist and Islamist anger, and conceivably encourage more extremist kinds of movements. Because if the West doesn't play by the rules of the international order, there are a lot of folks who say, why should we? And so my concern is that this is going to lead to a greater destabilization, not necessarily bringing other countries involved into the war directly, but encouraging the rise of extremist groups, terrorists, and all sorts of nasty elements that could have a very dangerous impact on the Middle East and the wider world.
Yes. So, of course, we're going to follow to see what happens in this conflict. But thank you so much for breaking it down for us to make it digestible for all of our listeners. Take care, Professor.
Thank you. My pleasure.
This was Professor Stephen Zunis, and we talked about the latest in the heightened escalation, whether it be, quote unquote, war, definitely there are deaths on both ends, I'm assuming, and this is something that we're going to have to watch as it does affect the rest of the world as well, including us here in South Korea. We're going to take a little breather, though. So here is Adele with Chasing Pavements.
I've made up my mind. Don't need to think it over. If I'm wrong, I am right. Don't need to look no further. This ain't last. I know this is love. But if I tell the world, I'll never say enough, 'cause it was not said to you. And that's exactly what I need to do if I end up with you. Should I give up, or should I just keep chasing pavements, even if it leads nowhere? Or would it be a waste, even if I knew my best? Should I leave it there? Should I give up, or should I just keep chasing pavements, even if it leads nowhere? I build myself up and fly around in circles, waiting as my heart drops and my back begins to tingle finally. Could this be it all? Should I give up, or should I just keep chasing pavements, even if it leads nowhere? Or would it be a waste, even if I knew my best? Should I leave it there? Should I give up, or should I just keep chasing pavements, even if it leads nowhere? Yeah. Should I give up, or should I just keep chasing pavements, even if it leads nowhere? Or would it be a waste, even if I knew my place? Should I leave it there? Should I give up, or should I just keep on chasing pavements? Should I just keep on chasing pavements? Oh, should I give up, or should I just keep chasing pavements, even if it leads nowhere? Or would it be a waste, even if I knew my best? Should I leave it there? Should I give up, or should I just keep chasing pavements, even if it leads nowhere?
Welcome back. What a great song for this kind of gloomy, maybe some areas wet Monday morning. And I've been reading some of your messages. I definitely agree that when it kind of rains a lot over the weekend and then the Monday after, it's always a little tougher to get out of bed. I mean, our Yeji PD님 and I, we were like, just like, I said, oh my gosh, was it Monday? Like that kind of feeling, it's real. I feel it too. So you're not the only ones out there. So in response to our text topic of things that you don't like paying for, can I tell you my story? So I went to a restaurant yesterday because we were celebrating something. And then my kitties are so good. So they had prepaid for our meal. So we were like, so happy. We're like, we're not even paying for this nice like course meal. And then they asked like, would you like something to drink? Neither of us drink. So we said, can we get a cola and a cider kind of beverage? And then we went to pay for the drinks after, our meal. And it was like 5,000원 per drink. And I was like, like I avoid even going to like the 편의점 to buy like any type of drink because it's usually, unless they have some sort of sale, more expensive than a 마트, 그쵸? 근데 하나당 5,000원. I was kind of like, per drink? Not for both? So I was kind of, like I don't like overpaying for drinks. So that's something like 조금 아까워요. 그런 음료수에, like you know how much it costs, right? If you buy it like at a big warehouse place or if you buy it at the 조금 아깝더라고요. The other messages that have come in, people really feeling it. Leslie, 두둥님, they all want to work. Leslie says 3 days of work and a 4-day weekend. That would be heaven. Even a 4-day work week, we would go with that. But she's saying 3-day work week and 4-day weekend. That would just be amazing. And by the way, happy Father's Day to those who are celebrating today because of the time difference, especially those in the U.S. and other countries where they do celebrate Father's Day separately from Mother's Day. And Tommy and some of the dads were complaining like, how come Father's Day is not really Father's Day? Like Umberto, his family wanted him to work the grill, right? And he was like, no, I want to rest. But apparently they let him rest, and his wife even gifted him with tickets to a K-pop concert. So how amazing is that? You have a wonderful family. You are loved. That means you're doing something right. Now we're going to get to Claire and News and Death. It is now time for News in Depth, and we have Claire in the studio. Hi, good morning.
Morning.
I hope you had a good weekend.
Had a great weekend, except the weather.
Yes. Hey, real quick, I want your take. Something that, 별로 비싸진 않아. It's not that expensive. 근데, 이거 쓰기 아까워. Like, I was talking about the drinks right now, right?
There's always the one. Shopping bag 101, 101.
That's such a good one. So do you usually say no?
Yes.
Oh, so you carry everything?
I often say, and then I gather things. Actually, can I get one, please?
Oh, I do that all the time.
I always bother them. I should have said it first, and then they could pack it.
Right.
But I just always like, no thanks, and then, maybe
I do need it. That's a lot to carry,
always
right?
101.
그쵸.
That bothers me.
100원인데 맞아요. I think that's the whole point, right? They want to bother you with that 101.
Yes.
Well, we're going to dive into News in Depth. So our first story is regarding President Lee Jae-myung's first overseas trip and Korea's global diplomacy reset, right?
Yes, we begin in Canada this week, where President Lee Jae-myung is making his first official overseas trip since taking office. He's attending the G7 summit from today, June 16th to June 17th, before returning to Korea on the 18th.
Yes.
This marks South Korea's re-engagement with summit-level diplomacy after several months of limited international travel.
Indeed. So let's break it down. What exactly is the G7? Somewhat, we hear it all the time, right? And why is Korea there? Because, not really officially G7.
Yes, the G7 or Group of Seven is an annual meeting of 7 of the world's major advanced economies, which is including Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the UK, and the United States. It's not a treaty organization, but a political forum where leaders discuss key global challenges like security, trade, climate change, and digital governance. South Korea isn't a member, as you mentioned, but it was invited this year by Canada, the host country, along with 6 other guest nations, including Australia, Brazil, India, Mexico, South Africa, and Ukraine.
Yes. Thanks for explaining. Today is June 16th, obviously, here. What is President Lee doing on day 1?
So he's starting the visit in Calgary, where he'll meet with leaders from the other invited guest countries in bilateral talks. These one-on-one meetings are aimed at building cooperation beyond the G7 group, especially with countries that play significant roles in regional affairs or the global economy.
Right, and I hear that there are going to be some G7 sessions tomorrow. Is that correct?
Yes, on June 17th.
Okay.
Tomorrow, the summit expands to include all participating nations. That's when the main discussions take place. Korea is expected to speak during the extended session, focusing on 2 core topics, energy security and artificial intelligence. intelligence.
So energy security and AI. Why those two, though?
So on energy, President Lee plans to outline Korea's support for diversifying global supply chains. The idea is to reduce dependence on a few regions and stabilize access, especially in light of disruptions like the war in Ukraine and Red Sea tensions.
Yes. And what about AI?
So the agenda includes how artificial intelligence can be integrated into energy systems, for example, improving efficiency, forecasting energy needs, and supporting the clean energy transition. Korea plans to present its perspective on using AI not just as a tech tool, but as part of sustainable infrastructure.
Well, it does sound like the tech angle that it's quite important, very central, right?
It is indeed. There's also mention of Korea's interest in AI governance, ensuring models are safe, fair, and energy conscious. These points are expected to be included in Korea's intervention during the summit.
Right. And so usually at any major event like a G7 summit, there are these sideline meetings. So I'm assuming there are going to be some, right?
Definitely. The presidential office says they're still finalizing bilateral schedules, but talks are in progress with both U.S. President Donald Trump and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida. A Korea-U.S. meeting could touch on trade and customs issues, while a Korea-Japan summit would have symbolic significance. It's the 60th anniversary of diplomatic ties this year and the 80th anniversary of Korea's liberation from colonial rule.
Important milestones, definitely.
It is. In fact, a reception marking the anniversary is being held today in Seoul. Though President Lee won't be there, he's sending a formal message instead, which will also be read as a follow-up event in Tokyo on June 19th.
I see. Well, let's also talk about Ukraine. What's the situation there?
So Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is also attending the summit.
Okay.
There's no confirmed schedule for meeting with President Lee, but the presidential office said they're preparing in case an opportunity for dialogue arises.
Okay.
As for additional support, Korea doesn't plan to announce new aid during the summit, but will continue its existing commitments.
Well, there's always a topic that comes up during these big summits. Security. Is that on the agenda?
It's part of the broader picture. Korea has indicated it wants to strengthen cooperation with democratic allies, but without provoking confrontation with China or Russia, officials have emphasized maintaining communication and balance, engaging with partners while not escalating tensions with neighboring powers.
Yeah, so it seems like it's like a careful approach, big topics, but also diplomacy.
Yes, exactly. The summit is a platform to engage on major global issues, but also to manage bilateral ties, regional stability, and economic coordination.
Yes.
President Lee wraps up the G7 schedule on the 17th tomorrow and is set to return to Korea late on the 18th.
Right, and we have a correction to make for the Prime Minister. The Japanese Prime Minister is Shigeru Ishiba. So just in case something else was said, we wanted to correct that, just in case. No offense, of course, was intended. So while President Lee is abroad and things were also, so tense in Washington over the weekend, right? So let's talk about what happened.
Yes, Saturday, June 14 was a significant day in the U.S. Not only was it President Donald Trump's birthday, but it also marked the Army's 250th anniversary. A military parade was held in Washington, D.C. to commemorate the occasion.
Right, and this was, usually we don't have military parades. So what was it like?
The parade was held to mark the, as I mentioned, 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army.
Yes.
It spanned Constitution Avenue with over 6,700 troops marching, 150 armored vehicles rolling, and 50 military aircraft flying overhead. It was the kind of spectacle you usually associate with Bastille Day in France or parades in Moscow or Pyongyang.
Yes.
President Trump watched from a special viewing platform set up near the White House, accompanied by First Lady Melania Trump and high-profile cabinet members, including Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
And the timing of it, was it intentionally held on his birthday?
Yes, many saw that timing as no coincidence. Supporters called it a tribute to the military and to Trump's America First vision. Critics said it felt more like a birthday celebration masquerading as national pride.
Okay.
Either way, it dominated the headlines and served as a visual display of Trump's enduring power.
Now let's also turn our attention to what he said himself.
So Trump praised the military's role in shaping the U.S. He highlighted past victories from World War II to Korea, Vietnam, and the Middle East. His speech includes lines like, quote, when our enemies threaten us, our troops strike with full force. And the world knows you don't mess with American steel. He ended by thanking the troops and calling them the ultimate guardians of liberty.
I see. And while all that was happening, we do also have to cover what was happening elsewhere, like the protests.
Yes, large-scale protests were held across the country under the name No Kings. These demonstrations were organized in opposition to President Trump's policies and recent federal immigration enforcement raids. They combined themes of defending democratic norms with calls to protect immigration rights.
So how widespread were the protests? Because, you know, we heard about what was happening in LA, but of course spreading to other cities and areas.
So it pretty much organized, as said, millions of people joined in hundreds of events nationwide.
Okay.
Major cities like New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Austin, and Philadelphia saw big crowds. In Seattle, officials estimated over 70,000 people gathered for what became the city's largest rally downtown. In Atlanta, a 5,000-person venue filled up quickly, with even more people gathered outside.
Well, what about the capital itself, Washington, D.C.?
In Washington, about 200 protesters assembled at Logan Circle, just a few kilometers from the parade route. They chanted, "Trump must go now," and wheeled through a larger-than-life puppet caricature of the president wearing a crown and sitting on a golden toilet. It was one of many theatrical displays seen across the country.
Yes. So I also want to ask this, Claire, because, you know, we want protesting to be peaceful. Was it peaceful?
Important thing, yes. Largely, yes. But there were some isolated incidents in Los Angeles where protests had already been ongoing due to immigration raids. Police used tear gas and crowd control munitions after the formal demonstration ended. Officers in Portland did the same near the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement facility.
Were any people injured?
In Salt Lake City, Utah, police are investigating a shooting that occurred during a downtown march. One person was critically injured. 3 people were taken into custody, including a man believed to be shooter, who also had a gunshot wound. Authorities haven't confirmed whether the incident was politically motivated.
I see. So we're going to leave that story there for now because we have other stories to get to. So let's wrap up with something practical and kind of alarming. What is going on with these secondhand scams here in Korea?
So it's a growing issue. More and more people are being scammed through 문고리 거래 or door handle transactions, a contactless way of trading used goods popularized during COVID-19.
Yes.
It's simple. The seller leaves an item on their door handle. The buyer transfers the money and picks it up without meeting. But now scammers are hijacking this convenience.
So just to get a very quick summary, maybe just like one story about what happened?
So there's one story in Incheon. A woman in her 20s tried to buy a mobile phone through a second-hand app.
Yes.
The seller had a perfect profile, 100% rating, retrade rating, verified address, and even sent a photo of the product hanging on the door.
Yes.
After transferring the money, the seller demanded more, claiming the account needed verification as it was a business account. She eventually sent triple amount, almost, then the seller vanished.
Oh my gosh. So definitely be on the watch out, and hence we're sharing this story with you, with our listeners. So thank you so much for going over all the news in depth, and of course we'll check in with you next week. So take care. Thank you, Claire.
Have a great day, everyone.
All right. It's time to wrap up our Monday morning. Alrighty, can you believe time flies? And so wishing you all the best. Be safe out there. Final song is 사랑해요 by Kim Jo-han. Enjoy and join us again tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
느끼죠 가슴이 터질 것 같아
모두 말하고 싶지만 숨기죠. 왜 난 이렇게 한 그대 왜 날 사랑하지 않죠. 왜 날 바라보는 그대 눈에 아무 감정이 없나요. 안타까움이 없나요. 사랑해요 사랑해요. 그댈 보면 마음속으로 끝없이 외쳐요. 사랑해선 안 되는 사람을 사랑하는 난 이제 어쩌면 좋아. 난 이제 끝없이 슬퍼하면 살아가야 하나요. 그대를 향한 내 마음은 작아지지 않을 것만 같은데 왜 날 찾아온 사람